sucks. Took me forever to find that poor little creature. Anyway, if you order within the next 2 minutes, I will double it and send you a second. Yes, I
Good morning, DragonCon, and welcome to the Sunday edition of The Late Show. My name is Brian. I'm here with Steven and B to get your con started right.
Wait, get your con started on a Sunday?
The day of the con.
I see, get the day started, because I'm pretty sure the con at this point starts the Sunday before DragonCon.
Yeah, it's time is a flat circle. Now I want a pizza. Steven, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you, Brian?
I am technically awake, functionally. We'll see how the next 30 minutes goes.
Excellent.
Well, I'm wondering, what has been the most amazing, impressive, or maybe the funniest thing you've seen so far?
Oh no. It's a high bar.
Family appropriate.
Yeah. Fun thing that happened to me on stage Friday was with the cast of The Expanse. Where Wes Chatham, who plays Amos Burton, wanted to recreate the Here Comes the Juice scene. And so at some point, there's going to be a GIF/GIF, depending on your religious affiliation, of the three of us in chairs in this ballroom going... So look forward to that on an internet near you. Saturday's highlight was the parade. Having an actual crowd back at the parade was just so good. But we'll talk a little bit more about the parade later in the show.
There have been so many awesome cosplays. I actually ended up walking past the Expanse party last night, and one person was dressed as Miller, as the detective, and had the little glowy lights of protomolecule all around.
I think that was Julie. That was Julie. She was posting that before she did blue Christmas lights around it to be the proto Miller. And cheap cosplay. It was all thrift shop, and I think Home Depot for the battery powered lights, and it was perfect.
But the funniest thing was overhearing someone say, it says that it's DragonCon, but they're not all dressed like from the Dragon Show. So we got to step up our game, folks. Iron Thrones for everybody.
Well, for me, I saw Cybertronic Spree last night. It was an amazing show. It's the third time at DragonCon, and it's completing their trilogy, although that does not mean they should not be back again and again and again.
Awesome.
So,
all right.
Brian, you want to talk about our charity partners?
Yeah. Do not forget that DragonCon gives back. DragonCon's charity this year is Open Hand Atlanta, a local charity that I've supported in the past. They help underserved members of the community thrive by serving healthy meals to folks. If you've lived in metro Atlanta or rural Georgia, you know that we have these things called food deserts. It's hard to get a healthy meal in a walkable or serviceable area through public transportation. They're a very worthy organization. You can donate using the QR code on your screen, and in some of the smaller events at the convention, we'll be actually passing a bucket around for these weird sort of fungible tokens called cash.
And there are other ways that you can get in on the charity action. We have a lot of tracks doing different events, auctions, raffles, things like that. So if you search in the app for the word charity, you can bring those up and see what all is going on.
And we're going to highlight a couple today. So we have two great auctions going on today for folks who still have some money burning a hole in their pocket and who would like to do something special to give back and help Open Hand Atlanta.
Yeah, our main charity auction starts at 10 a.m. today, goes to 2 p.m. The general auction is going to have a framed poster from the movie Oz the Great and Powerful, signed by the main cast and the director, a complete set of Thrawn Ascendancy, limited edition by Timothy Zahn, who was a guest at this year's convention. He was actually in line to get an autograph from the cast of The Expanse. That was a fun thing to watch. Caitlin Nakins, is that correct? bicycle that she learned to ride for her role in The Walking Dead, and more. That's the main charity auction, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Look for that in the app, and the information is on your screen right now.
Yes, and during that auction at noon, we will be opening the Disney Vault. We will be auctioning items from DragonCon's past, Hard Rock pin sets, merchandise with the old DragonCon logo, and other items.
Absolutely. I want to remind you that the DragonCon Hustle is still going on because this is an event you can do before, during, and even after DragonCon. It's a 5K, which I have definitely done, I think, just this morning alone.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so what you see up there is my sweaty selfie, repping DCTV's 20th anniversary bib. And so when you sign up, you get a digital bib, and then like after the con, they send you an actual medal in the mail. And so I cannot wait to put my medal on and be showing off for that. And so we want to see your bibs and your sweaty selfies, and you can use that hashtag DragonCon Hustle.
Excellent. Yeah, my fitness tracker, my watch is so happy with me this week, and I have to remember if you have a fitness tracker and it's like, you're doing great, do you want to up your step goal? I'm like, no, I will not be doing this when I get back home working from my house on Tuesday.
I have hatched so many eggs in Pokemon Go.
Excellent.
Got to hatch them all. All right, let's go to our first guest this morning. Our first guest is author Cat Rambo. They've been nominated for a Dragon Award for their novel You Sexy Thing, thing that I didn't think I was going to be saying this early in the morning. Cat Rambo, welcome to DragonCon and welcome to The Late Show.
I'm very, very happy to be here, and I'm adequately caffeinated.
That's the bar we look for all of us, is adequately caffeinated. So your book, You Sexy Thing, has been described as the Great British Bake Off meets Farscape, which is a description that delights me. Please talk a little bit about that.
So my elevator pitch is this. There is a group of retired mercenaries that have started a restaurant aboard a space station. Things are going wonderfully. In fact, it's going so well that a restaurant critic is about to award them a coveted Nickelan orb. And then a mysterious package arrives, things start exploding, and they are forced to steal an intelligent spaceship that is not really sure it wants to be stolen. Thank you very much. And that's the first 2 chapters.
Excellent.
Okay.
And there are eggplants. Well, so when I was reading the book, Kat, one thing that really stood out to me was this theme of connection. So there's the connection between the crew, but then also this connection that grows between the ship, You Sexy Thing, and the crew. Can you talk a little bit about that?
The book is very much in the tradition of hope punk, which is kind of bright and peppy and focuses on found family and connection. And to me, that is so important that I thought it should be more written about.
And I also know that you do a lot of writer education things through your Cat Rambo's Writing Academy. Could you speak a little about that?
I run the Rambo Academy for Wayward Writers, which is an online school that's been around for over 10 years now. It's not just me teaching, I bring in a lot of other people. I had Shannon McGuire, Mary Robinette Koal. I've got a very cool class coming up with Yoon-Ha Lee. And the secret is that I book people that are teaching things that I want to take.
Excellent.
So you just build your own personal university and invite a couple other people over just to make it official for tax reasons?
It has worked for 10 years now.
Awesome.
And your website is kittywumpus.net?
It is.
That's
Okay.
delightful.
That's great. Some authors find their niche and usually kind of stick with the genre, but you've done everything. You've done sci-fi fantasy, you've done steampunk. Do you have even though you're switching genres very quickly, do you have a common thread that kind of runs through your writing?
I think that if there was a common thread, it comes out of my original background, which was literary fiction. And then I came to science fiction and fantasy because that was what I liked to read. But I think I still bring a certain amount of, not the complicated, esoteric literary stuff, but the pretty word stuff.
Pretty words. I like that. So where can we stay up to? Oh, you've already covered the website. You can stay up to date on your upcoming work, but you've got a Patreon, of course, correct?
I do have a Patreon, which is connected to the university. the Academy. So if people are members of the Patreon, they get discounts on classes as well as access to our Discord and a lot of other stuff.
Excellent.
And then Kat, I read the book, so I'm super excited for the sequel for Devil's Gun. When is it coming out?
They're telling me end of November, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
You're not going to make this like a Mercy situation, right? You're not going to kidnap Kat and force them to read the book? Okay, just checking. You're safe.
That doesn't seem like
All right.
something I would
Nothing
do.
to be alarmed at here.
Don't give me ideas, Stephen.
Very reassuring.
All right. Well, Dragon Awards are going to be announced tonight. Good luck, Kat. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys. This is very exciting to be here.
All right. Now, we talked about the parade a moment earlier, and one of the things that happens in the parade is a lot of times you get groups that are organized around fandoms or particular themes and costumes. We actually have a couple that organize around other aspects. And one of those is the Volunteer Cosplayers of Atlanta. And they volunteer as cosplayers in children's hospitals for various charity events. So we sent a team out to follow them through the parade yesterday. So let's take a look at that segment.
Greetings, guys. I'm Vaughn from DCTV, DragonConTV. I am here. It is Saturday, and it is the day of the DragonCon parade. We're going to be following the Cosplay Volunteers of Atlanta, and we're going to be talking with a few of those people. Let's check it out.
Hi, I'm Yoko Mizuhara. I'm Ellie Watson.
And we just got done doing the DragonCon parade. I'm honestly tired. How are you two feeling?
I'm pretty exhausted. The shield's a little bit heavier than probably was smart. I definitely let it go and got all my cardio in for the year.
Yes, definitely. So we hear that you guys are from Cosplay Volunteers of Atlanta. What is that? What is it?
So Cosplay Volunteers of Atlanta is a volunteer group, and we go to charity events such as children's hospitals, hospices, any sort of charity event that will have kids in it. We take our volunteers that are various kid-friendly characters, and we help add a little bit of extra to those volunteer organizations' events. We love to bring the magic to kids at, charities and hospital events when they may not get the chance to go other places and like Disney and see that kind of magic. So we bring it to them.
So how long have you guys been established?
2013, our first event was a Eggleston Hospital, Children's Hospital of Atlanta event.
Okay. Is this your first DragonCon parade that y'all have marched?
No, we've been doing the parade for 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
Few years.
So I am Tiana, and her sign name in the deaf community is this for cooking or this for because she was a frog in the movie.
Okay. So what got you into the Cosplay Volunteers of Atlanta?
So if you notice, I'm a black deaf woman, and I wanted to show representation to the deaf community as well as the black and POC community with the children because they need that representation. So when I saw that there was something that popped up on Facebook, I just thought maybe I should join, and maybe they can support me because I am deaf. And so, yeah.
You're here with Cosplay Volunteers of Atlanta. So
Yes, that's correct.
Would you like to describe your experience being a part of that?
Well, I mean, what is to say? It's been magical. I've been part of the group since late 2019. Then, of course, the world happened. Didn't really get into the group until, kind of late 2020, early 2021. But it's just such a wonderful thing to do. I mean, just take a day, dress up in goofy costumes with your friends, brighten some kids' days. I mean, you can't beat it. You can't beat it.
What about cosplaying for a cause? How does that feel for you?
I mean, it's the best. I mean, it's something that I already love to do selfishly for me, and being able to just share that with other people, it's just the best thing you can do, I think.
If someone wants to join cosplay, Volunteers of Atlanta, what are the steps that they go through to be able to do that?
Yeah, so they can just look up Cosplay Volunteers of Atlanta. You'll find our website or our Facebook. Our email address is on that, so you can send an email. We're, as admins, will grab that. We'll let you know kind of the steps to go through. We normally like someone to come and watch an event, and then you can come in character. We also always need handlers, so people who just kind of tell the kids to take pictures, things like that. And I will say October and December are our busy seasons, so if you want to join, if you're in Atlanta, you got some kid-friendly costumes, we would love to have you.
All right, there you have it, guys. Again, thank you to the Cosplay Volunteers of Atlanta. If you are interested in joining those great people, make sure you follow them on Twitter, and you also like their page on Facebook. Like they said, they are very responsive to messages, so if you're interested, make sure you get in touch with them. Thank you so much for watching this, guys. We hope you enjoy the rest of your DragonCon.
All right, and we are back with our next guest, Aunt Lucia, a very talented artist who collaborated with DragonCon to make the badge art this year. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This badge is amazing.
I really there's so much I like about this badge. It definitely gives me strong Dragon Lair vibes, which is an arcade game that probably ate more quarters than I should have taken from my parents, while still being its own thing. I'd love to hear about your thought process and how you approached the badge.
Yeah, you know, most of my artwork is all kind of a retro vibe to it, and I'm a big arcade collector, so I had just picked up Dragon's Lair at home when I got contacted to maybe work on the badge artwork, and Jamie had mentioned that it had to have a dragon in it, of course, and so what was fresh in my mind was Dragon's Lair, and I thought, well, it might be kind of fun to do kind of a flop on that and take Princess Daphne and make her Daphne the Daring. So that was kind of the spin for the badge.
When your friends come over, do you make them pay quarters when they play your Dragon's Lair?
You know what? When I was young, I really never got to play it because my parents never gave me enough quarters. So I got to watch. That
was expensive.
Exactly. I got to watch everyone else play it. So yeah, now that I've spent money to own it in my home and I've tried to play it, it's so hard.
It's the original QuickTime event.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So your work, like you said, it has a wonderful retro vibe feel. For example, you did a series of pinups called the Spook Show pinups. I love them so much. They're witty and fun, like a little bit sexy, I like that, but just so fun. Talk to me about like does someone come to you and say, hey, I'd like you to do this thing? Or are you like, nope, this is me, this is what I want to do?
Right, yeah. With the Spook Show pinups was kind of my first jump into conventioning, I guess you would call it. But I'm a graphic designer to begin with, so at the time that I wanted to start exhibiting, my friends and I had done like an independent comic book and put it out there, and I spent a year developing it, and you know, we'd sit at our table, we'd pay our table costs to be at a show, and we'd barely make the money back, and I thought, you know what, I want to try something a little different. So I'd always been a fan of like vintage pinup artwork, classic movie monster posters, comic book artwork, and so I thought, you know, it'd be kind of fun to take in those classic movie monster posters, the female characters in the posters were always terrified of the monsters, and I thought, well, it might be kind of fun to make this look more like a romantic comedy type of poster, so that's where those stem from.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I'd love to hear how you approached your serial thrillers.
Serial thrillers is actually, this is the first show that I'm exhibiting those, so I just got them back from the printer right before we came here, so it was just kind of, again, I'm a fan of old, like characters and things like that, and the serials were always a big part of growing up for me. So I thought I wanted to kind of give my own spin to some of those serial characters and develop my own characters, and each one there's a fun little interaction with the monster cereal box harassing the spoon in the bowl, running and chasing him around the bottom of the print. So
That's awesome.
That is fun. So you've got Bombshells merch. You've got a couple places to find you at the con. Where can we find you at DragonCon this weekend?
Yeah, I'm in the America's Mart Building 2 on the 4th floor. A8, I believe, is the table.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have exclusive DragonCon prints as well there too. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing more of your art in the future. Hopefully, we get some cool T-shirts and badges out of it years forward. Ant, thank you very much for coming to the show this morning. We
Absolutely.
greatly appreciate it. And make sure to visit him and the rest of our great artists, both in America's Mart and in the Comic and Pop Artist Alley. All right, we're going to switch gears like we don't even have a clutch right now and bring on our last guest of the morning. We're going to go from comic art to space. Our final guest is Dr. John Hedgepeth. Wow, we should have talked about this off screen, shouldn't we have? It's a live show, kids.
Josh Hedgepeth.
Yeah, you can take your mask off if you're
yes.
comfortable with it.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go over the last name again because I forgot to ask you this when we were off stage.
Yes, Josh Hedgepeth. So with a hedge
Hedgepeth.
and Beth, but with a P.
So you're part of the space track, and you did a talk on Titan and Europa, a NASA missions to possibly life-supporting worlds. Steven, you're going to drive this one for a second.
Wait, this is super cool. So tell us about how you got to the point where you're doing panels at DragonCon, because I understand there was a little bit of twisting and turning that happened.
So I was an engineering student at Georgia Tech, mechanical engineering, and I always had a love for space, but I didn't think I had the ambition to really pursue aerospace, which was my original goal. So I found myself nearing my graduation, about to get into a regular desk job, and naturally, though, my love of space and science led me to DragonCon, to all the different tracks. And at some point, I was sitting in the track, and I saw the people talking about space, talking about these missions that were going on. That was perfect intersection of what I already had been studying and my love of space. And it made me realize maybe my passion isn't dead, because at that point I had a passion of space going into engineering, but I had let it go. And when I went to the space track, after a couple of years, it made me think maybe I could talk to them and give this a try. And I did. And now 8 years later, I have a degree studying space, and I asked if I could talk about it with them, because it was, honestly, as great as it is to get a degree, for me, it was just a personal accomplishment to be able to join the track that honestly inspired me to reconsider whether or not my passion was something that I could actually do, and I could. Yeah.
That is fantastic.
So your specific PhD is in a geoscience, correct?
Yeah.
So how does that play into do you get to play with space rocks? That's what I want to know.
Yes, sort of. I mean, I was at a school that was very geology focused, but I always had more interest in the math, because engineer, obviously. And so I did a lot of modeling. And I also study icy worlds. Technically, those could be rocks. And I am moving my postdoc to Mars stuff, but a lot of what I did was remote sensing. Basically, we got imagers either from Earth or from missions. Honestly, it was the mission, the Cassini mission, and talk about that, and all the beautiful, gorgeous images, and all the new things that I realized we had left to learn that inspired me. So for me, the engineering fits into the math, the modeling. The foundation of the engineering really is the same as the physics that controls any world. And then the missions is the mechanical side, right? I can start to think about the intersection of the science and the engineering and everything that I'm good at and love all at once.
Yeah, it's cool when you can actually make that science engineering connection, because they're sometimes taught, as I have an engineering degree, and they're often taught as two different disciplines. Like you can get super theoretical and forget that the whole point of learning the sciences is to figure out what you can do. You don't study science, just study science, right? You try to have an outcome of some kind. And it's cool that you've got that kind of inspiration. So since you made that sort of hard turn in your mind from a degree standpoint, what do you still kind of carry with you from the engineering, maybe just aside from that kind of practical, this is going to turn into something that we actually do sort of mindset?
For me, it was the tools, the techniques that I learned in engineering that were very valuable in the sciences. I just did not have the passion to pursue the area of focus of engineering. It's where I can use those tools in a perspective, in a way, to study things that I actually am interested in. It was one of those things where I had a passion. I realized, or I tried to pursue that passion through one narrow pathway, and it got me very disenfranchised and ready just to take a random desk job. And once I realized that these tools can be used in a number of ways, that's really what inspired me to switch over.
The thing that I want to follow up on with this is you and I have kind of a similar experience in finding something out of science fiction that changes the way we think about our careers. So I have this kind of weird opportunity today that, as part of my afternoon, the reason I've got all the Trek pins and stuff on is I'm doing 3 Trek panels this afternoon. I'm the moderator, and one of them is basically introducing William Shatner on stage. And I know a lot of people have con stories about William Shatner. I have a different con story about William Shatner that happened at literally like 20 years ago, I think almost today, at an Intel developer forum, because I studied speech recognition in college. And I burned out on it so hard when I was getting my master's degree, because it was speech recognition in 1994. And if you think Siri hates you now, there wasn't a Siri in 1994, and I wasn't able to build it. And I spent 2 years like beating my head against the problem. And the reason I told people I dropped out of it is because Captain Kirk made it look too easy on television. They all wanted it to look like Kirk, and I couldn't make it look like Kirk in the 90s, and I didn't want to burn out on it for 25 years. So I bailed and went to almost the opposite end of computing. I went into firmware. And turns out everything's fine. Like I got a cool job. I love it. But I was starting to guest present at Intel conferences as a software developer. And William Shatner was the keynote speaker on the last day of Intel Developer Forum in San Jose. And literally I had come from DragonCon to Intel Developer Forum, still jet lagged and sleep deprived. And I'm doing training, and he wrote a book co-authored with a book about all the science in Star Trek that became real. And so I got to ask him on stage as an audience member, what do you think happens in Star Trek that works so well in the TV show that you'll never get it right in real life? And I thought he was going to talk about warp drive or transporters. And when I had mentioned I used to work on speech recognition, I apparently triggered the bill. And he went off on like this 5-minute rant about Ray Kurzweil. And apparently William Shatner had been asked, like, pro tip, if you're running a technical trade show, you can hire like actors to come out. You can get famous people to come out and do stuff with you on stage if you have enough money. And everybody in the 90s was like, we're making speech recognition. We could get Captain Kirk to do our stage demo at our trade show. And inevitably, he'd have the beta version of the software or something, it would fail. So he hated modern speech recognition because it had burned him so much on stage. And after the rant, he looks at me, and I've got this is so old of a clip that the only version I can find is in real player format. Yeah, exactly. And he points at me and goes, "Why didn't you fix it?" And I said, "I couldn't, so I changed jobs." And he went, "Good choice, next question." So in front of 600 people, William Shatner validated my career. And so this connects with me so much, and I think it connects with a lot of other people at Con, that your passion and what you do for your job don't have to be disconnected. And I'm glad you're able to come to us with like such a compelling and interesting story about how this convention specifically like allowed you to make that connection. So we're going to close out the show on that note, because I don't think there's anywhere else we can go from there. But again, thank you for joining us this morning. I also want to thank Ant and Kat for coming on the show. B, Stephen, we're going to do a show tomorrow. It won't look exactly like this. Probably the bags under the eyes will be a little bit
taller coffees,
larger bags. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching in your hotel rooms and on the stream. 10 o'clock this morning, we kick off here. If you haven't heard, we're doing an Orville panel at 10 in Centennial 24. So that's a new addition. Check the app for other changes to the schedule. And if we don't see you tomorrow morning, you'll probably see us. Thanks, and have a great con.